All right, what's up, guys? It's Billy B hanging out live on Mic Drop Events. I'm so fired up to be with Sachs and Josh Swing. Listen, if you do not know about Wildsparq, you need to go look them up. Go follow them on social, incredible social media. Their website's amazing, but their hearts are even better. And so I'm super excited to have them on the podcast. I've been friends with Cord for, a couple decades now. And Josh is a slightly newer friend, but known him for a while too. And it's been really fun to watch their business grow. And so I'm going to start with Cord. Tell me a bit about you and tell the audience what's up with you and what you do at Wildsparq.
Awesome. Yeah. First and foremost, what is up with me? Who am I? I'm a dad. Well, I'm a husband first and then a dad. My beautiful wife, Heather, we live in Birmingham, Alabama. We have 6 kids, 2 in college, and the others are scattered through high school down to my 9-year-old in 3rd grade. So I love my family. And then I got another family. I got a family at work. I got a family here at Wildsparq. We have an incredible team here at Wildsparq, and it's family. And so I love this whole principle of taking everything that I hope to achieve in my family room, and I try to pull that into my boardroom. And so that I don't just experience family at home, but I experience family at my work. I do that selfishly so that I can take advantage of the relationships that I have with my team, because they're all more talented than me. And so when I come to work, I get to grow. I get to expand my capacity just by being around my team.
Well, let me pause you. Let me pause you right there, because I probably have said that Cordism. There's a lot of Cordisms that I say. Those who are listening in, Cord has been a mentor for me in a lot of different ways. So watching the way you love your family with 6 kids. But that family room to boardroom, I use that phrase probably more than anything I've heard you say, and it's a great one. And I actually last night was talking to our babysitter. She's 15 years old, and she has no idea what her dad does or her mom does for a living. And I was like, man, that's not how it should be. Like, yeah. we should have, like, I love having I have 4 kids now. Like, my 6-month-old has no idea what I do. But 7, 8, 9-year-old, they come watch. They understand. They know. I want them to understand. When Daddy has a bad day, I tell them, like, hey, this was hard at work. Let me tell you what So I just love that you've modeled that. So keep going. I know this is your intro, not mine, but I want to jump in and say, man, that quote is, so if you're listening, what happens in the boardroom can transfer to the family room and back and forth. And don't be afraid to let it be a little sloppy, because I think life should be more congruent that way.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. My son did an internship with me this past summer. My oldest son's coming out of his first year of college, and it was just such an experience. So, but nonetheless, yeah, family room can go to the boardroom, but then we say boardroom can go to the family room as well. And so that's a big part of our philosophy. When we started Wildsparq, it really was, how do we help an organization go boardroom to family room? And by that, I mean, how do you help the people in your grassroots hit their home runs where it matters most, and that's in their family room. So if you can leverage the time that you have in in your company, and especially as I'm talking to executives and the owners of the company, if you can build the culture of your organization so that it positively impacts your people in such a way that they are better in their family room, meaning you grow them at work, you develop them, you invest in them, you pour in them, and then they become better husbands and better fathers and spouses and wives. And you get the biggest bang for the buck, because when your people are seeing you make them better and it translates to their family room, they want to come to work. They're more energized to come to work in the first place, and then they want to come and they want to run through brick walls for you. Yep. So that a lot of our perspective and why we created Wildsparq, a leader development platform that's simply going to help companies scale leader development through a very consistent model that they're going to put inside their culture, where leaders are going to learn to grow other leaders.
And I've watched and I've watched you do that, in your life. We've worked at a couple different organizations together, and this has been a journey for you. And I can't wait to dive in more of, this idea of leader development is not just reading a book together. It's kind of side by side, life on life, going through the tough stuff, looking at some content, making that come to life in these meetings. And so I'm just pumped, because I know our team has benefited from Wildsparq, and partnering with you on different events has been awesome. So I'm gonna dive into what that is specifically. here in a minute. And I see Josh over there has got his finger on his lip, contemplating. He's like, when's he going to come to me? I'm ready. I'm like Kentucky Derby at the gate, ready to like run through the wall. Let's get it. So Josh, if you're listening in, you can't see Josh, but if you're watching, you see how attractive he is. Josh, tell me about you and tell me a bit of your story and tell me what you do at Wildsparq.
Billy, you are way too kind. I'll tell you about my story in a second, but to echo what Cord just said, we had somebody on our team, a guy named Peyton Welch, say just yesterday, I think the way that he phrased it was, it's like we don't hire individuals here, we hire families, because of how integrated the boardroom to family room mentality is within our culture. So Cord, I can't sing your praises enough for ingraining that in what we do here at Wildsparq. It makes work so much more enjoyable and fulfilling. And on any given day, you'll probably see kids here at the office. We love bringing kids by for lunches. So sometimes the boardroom becomes the family room, and then there's Chick-fil-A sauce all over the table, and that's a whole nother issue. But yeah, it makes work so much more fun. My story, I was raised here in Birmingham, Alabama, where we're located. Went off for school for a little bit, but quickly came back. I love the city of Birmingham. I definitely have a heart for the city here. But I am also a husband and a father. I've been with Wildsparq now for 4 years. And so as a company, we're 6 years old. So a majority of the company's life, I've been around here, and it's been fun to see a lot of growth, a lot of new faces come onto the team here, and a lot more impact start to happen. I've got 2 little ones. My oldest is going to turn 3 here in November, and then I've got one that just turned 1. So I'm trying to learn from guys like Cord over there and gain all the wisdom from some of the parenting vets, and soak it all in. I'm still learning a lot right now, but it's been fun.
Yeah, I love that, man. And watching the way that Wildsparq has approached the event industry, and you guys work with companies literally around the globe, mostly in the US, but definitely have some folks scattered around the globe that you're working with. And as you've grown, this podcast is called Mic Drop Events. And we all know when there's this awesome moment on stage where someone says something amazing, or there's this thing that happens, they extend their hand out and they just drop the mic. And that's kind of like this signature moment of, man, we rock this thing, or we did that thing really, really well. And so I know that Wildsparq internally, you guys have a lot of events to encourage your team, equip your team. I don't sense or see that you're a company that sort of just talks about development, but doesn't really want that to happen for your own people. And also know that you celebrate well being a part of some of your events and seeing that. So I'd love to just open up with a really kind of general question is, Cord, what do you see, 2021, what do you see in the event industry right now? As you're working with companies, you're working with a lot of people that don't do events, but they end up having to do events because of what's happening. But what are you seeing right now?
No, I'm seeing this unique wonder of, okay, we were what was called normal about 2 years ago, and then we went through this very unique season of abnormality, which was COVID, of course, and just trying to figure out how to do things very, very different. And so the remote experience was introduced into the world, into the economy, into the way we do work. And some people did it well, and some people didn't do it well. Some people it was very frustrating. It was very inefficient. It was very, it was counterproductive. And when they got back to work, they never want to do it again. But I think the majority and companies that were innovative, typically, they got to a place where they could do that really well. And they realized we might want to do this more. When we get back to normal, we might want to bring a part of this remote world into our regular cadence of work, because we can do it well. Some companies may have said we're gonna stay remote forever. I'm not seeing that. I think a lot of companies are saying, okay, maybe we thought we could do that, but there is a lot of advantages you get from being in person. But so I think there's this openness and this idea that let's do both. So let's have the big events where you come together and let's bring our people together, but we can also pull off high momentum, high engagement, very productive events remotely through technology. And I think that's where we're going to land. I think that's where we're seeing companies land. And so they're more open. They're much more open to allowing events and experiences to be held remotely and through technology.
And I got to ask my kids this morning, I took them to school, and all three of them, they're in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade. And I said, hey, what's one thing you want dad to teach you over the next month? What's one thing? And my 7-year-old said, Dad, I want you to teach me how to do a split. I said, well, no, that's not. But I immediately said no. But you know what caught me? I've never been so open to stretching. Like, I was like, you know what? I probably should stretch enough where I at least could like fake a split, you know? But I think the industry, you know, a few years ago was like, oh no, we couldn't go virtual. There's no way we could do a podcast virtually. Billy, plan a trip to Birmingham, take the microphones, go sit down with Cord and Josh, let's produce it. But now we're like, I'm in Atlanta, you guys are in Birmingham, and we're producing, and I feel just as connected as we were. You're right. I love the in-person. I think there's things there that we're going to miss by that. But I think people are open to new solutions. And so maybe that's a call to everybody listening. You need to be open to learn how to do a split this year. Learn how to do it. Put it on Instagram. Tag me, and I'll laugh. Just kidding. I'm probably not going to learn how to do a split, but at least I'm sort of open to it. So, yeah, man, I love that idea of openness. And Josh, I know you're working with a lot of clients, and you guys work with certain brands where there's a lot of franchisees. You work with some organizations that are kind of a central with a lot of different people that work at that central location. What are you seeing in the events industry? And I want to start with this. What is your favorite event you've ever been to? I'm going to throw you a curveball. I didn't throw to Cord. Cord, be thinking about that answer too. But Josh, what's your favorite event you've ever been to? And then what are you seeing right now? Don't say Alabama football.
I'll make it work related for the sake of the conversation today. There's a lot of sporting events that I could throw out there, but man, it's gotta be one of the next conferences, one of the seminars that Chick-fil-A has done. They just do an incredible job. Their big, I guess, all hands annual conference for all of their owner operators is called Next, is what they've branded it as. I know that Billy, you're probably familiar with this, but I even think back to, so a couple of years ago in Orlando, they closed it out with Laurie Hernandez, like doing her floor routine just after she had gotten back from the Olympics. And talk about a mic drop moment. It's just like, wow. Jaws are on the floor. My favorite event that I think I've participated in, it may have been, Billy, I don't know if you remember this. It was a little while ago. It was pre-pandemic. We did an event with America's first federal credit union. And you think, when you think about the culture of a credit union, typically holds pretty true. People are usually pretty buttoned up. And I remember, like it was yesterday, Billy starting to freestyle rap to all these credit union team members during the event, and jaws are on the floor, eyes got big, but it was awesome. One of my favorite moments from any event that I've gotten to participate in and be a part of. And so those are two of my favorites. And then the first half of your question, Billy, I would also second a little bit of what Cord said. You've seen this huge transition, and I know everybody's tired of hearing about like the work from home life and all that kind of stuff. But I think, a word that sticks out in a lot of my conversations, because in my role, I get to talk with tons of HR leaders, people leaders within companies is typically who we're talking to, or small business owners. And a word that came up very frequently, or a couple words that came up, were isolation and disconnectedness, right? Because a lot of people didn't innovate, right? And it was just like, oh, everybody's off on their islands, on their own little islands, trying to do it alone. And you miss a lot of that in-person stuff that you don't even realize or appreciate it when it's there. It's taken for granted a lot of the times. But the companies who are thriving now are, I think, the ones who have found a way to still drive connectedness through the stretching, through hitting the splits. They've found ways to keep people plugged in and engaged, and obviously you all are doing that a lot with Elevate Experiences. Yeah, and we're constantly learning of how do we do that well. It's almost like we have to take leaders and sort of unlearn some things the way they used to do it. And man, that is unlearning things, I think, is harder than teaching something brand new. And that's been an interesting avenue to really train them that you can have your team connected. We can do something where there is
heart and not just head in your virtual event, if that's the direction you choose to go. And we've had, even over the last couple of weeks, a couple clients that we had booked events for coming up here in the next few months that have already canceled them. And so I just wonder what the culture of the cancel culture in the event world, obviously there's a whole different cancel culture out there, but what that does for the spirit of your organization. Oh, we planned it. Oh, we're canceling it. Versus, hey, let's rethink it. Right? We talk about this idea of CPR, right? When the pandemic began, is are you going to take your event? Are you going to cancel it? Are you going to reschedule it to somewhere else? Or are you going to rethink it? I mean, the P was, what is it again? It's cancel, postpone, reimagine. So the cancel, postpone part, postpone, when the Masters was postponed last year, I had a whole different emotion about the Masters than I did Sweet 16 or March Madness last year. When that got canceled, I felt so different about college basketball than I did the Masters. I respected so much that they decided, hey, we're still going to have the Masters. It's just going to be postponed. Whereas March Madness was just totally canceled. And so I think challenging people to rethink it, to say, hey, like don't just cancel it. Let's reimagine it. So Cord, back to you on your favorite event. I gave you a minute to think about it.
Yeah, you did, and I was like, I got it. I don't need a minute. And then Swing stole it from me. So Chick-fil-A just does their events so well. There's no doubt, and you've been a big part of that, Billy, leading a lot of their events. And little people, a few people know that you're behind the scenes on a lot of their events that they pull off. But yeah, so I had to change my answer, and so I would say I have been introduced over the last year and a half, 2 years to what I call the personal milestone by trial event, which is what falls in the categories that Tough Mudders are in, or I've been a part of a group called EX3, and it's a bit of a mix between SEAL Fit and Wake Up Warrior. And so I've been introduced to this whole new experience, this event that we do once a quarter now, that has a personal trial by fire milestone that I get a hit every time I go. So it's a unique part of the event space, I think, that I've been awakened to, at least, where at that event there's a trial that's experienced where you get to hit a personal milestone. And you come away with so much pride, because you usually have to really work towards that event. You have to prepare for it. You have to get ready for it. And then you do something at that event that you just wouldn't do if there wasn't an event. There's leverage on your life before the event to really change some habits and to do some hard work. And then when you go experience that event, there's an incredibly rewarding experience on the backside of the event. So that's an event that I've experienced lately that has become one of my favorite.
Yeah, it's interesting, the personalized fitness journey. I mean, I think the 29:02:29 Jesse Itzler's climbing up Mount Everest, where he's kind of reenacted that by climbing up a mountain a certain number of times. But the great thing between that is he has this this fire brander that the way you measure it between each journey, you go and you actually burn this piece of wood with your name on it, and then you start walking again. You come back down and you kind of check it off the list with this unique branding thing. I think about Wake Up Warrior. I think about, obviously, all the different personalized fitness routines are such a great experience. For me, I had one in Malibu, California, May of 2019. I did my first ice bath, and I never forget the mental journey I had to take to actually get in there. Like, I watched people, it was about 20 of us, and I watched people before, just couldn't do it. And I got in halfway and I had to jump out. And they teach you breathing. But I remember the calmness that I felt when I sat down in there and realized, like, oh, this isn't that bad. And I've recalled that so many times of, hey, this isn't that bad. Like helping through the pandemic and everything else. Like, it goes back to that personal fitness journey. Like you said, quarterly, you're going to trial by fire. We're going to go through it. So I think everybody, if you're listening or watching, hey, if you haven't done something that's a fitness journey, it might be walking 1 mile a day. It could be you're like taking some sort of step. I really challenge you. I have someone close to me that passed away just this last Thursday, and there was it was a mental journey that they were going through, and it's kind of all I will say about it in particular. But I challenge everybody just to think about what is your thing that's holding you up from being great. And it could be that, hey, maybe this isn't even a podcast about events. Maybe it could be that, you know what, I do need to start walking twice a week, or you know what, I do need to start lifting again, or you know what, I need to go book that 5K. I think some of us have make excuses because everything's canceled, the 5Ks, 10Ks, but like I need to book that virtual 5K and just go walk it. So I want to encourage you with that. And this has been rich. I love what both of you guys are doing, and I do want to spend a moment talking about Wildsparq and what you guys actually do. And Cord, I'm gonna let you begin, and Josh, you guys can pepper between each other and kind of toss it there. But those of you that are listening in or watching this, whether on YouTube or listening to the podcast, Wildsparq is a platform where organizations can actually work directly with Wildsparq, bring it to them, and they have personalized, amazing module content based on what you want to teach and go through with your team. And it's some of the most remarkable content. I wouldn't say anything revolutionary new that maybe none of us haven't heard before at a leadership conference or in a book, but they take it and crystallize it so people can actually talk about it and actually do it. There's a lot of book writers, there's a lot of authors that give this hyperbole about how to be a great leader and whatnot. But seeing the way that you're working with people to actually take that person that didn't think they could be a leader, actually lead, and then get in conversations. And so I'm fired up about what you guys do. And I know that event is a big part of it. Elevate Experiences have hosted some of the kickoffs that you guys have done. And we know there's this catalytic moment where it needs to begin. But Cord, you said something before we started recording is kind of this between the mountaintops of these experiences, whether it's your national sales meeting or some sort of big event, you gather people, there's this consistency. And I think that's what Wildsparq does. So tell the folks a little bit about what Wildsparq and how you guys do what you do.
Yeah, so Wildsparq is a leader development strategy that you're going to invite into your culture. And it's going to become a part of your culture where you make the middle manager or a team leader the hero. We talked about the mic drop earlier. We want your middle managers, your team leaders, whoever leads a team in your organization, from the grassroots all the way up to there's someone that sits in your executive table that leads that team. They need to be engaging in a dynamic conversation at least once a month that's going to challenge them personally in the area of leadership and developing their leadership skills. And so Wildsparq launches this strategy in a very simple way through an online platform that's going to deliver a content track that the organization is going to predetermine and pick out very strategically based on where they want to see their people growing. We're simply going to help the organization be organized into teams, and then we're going to make that team leader the hero. We're going to make them the individual that's going to drop the mic or learn how to drop the mic at the end of a monthly meeting that they're going to lead, and they're going to learn to lead month in and month out. And I know that might even sound scary. Oh my gosh, I'm going to ask my people to lead. They don't have to be a great speaker. They don't have to be a leadership expert at all. If they simply go through the lesson and then simply engage in the equipping tools for them to lead that conversation in that meeting, they're amazed at how quickly they enjoy leading this meeting. They begin to see impact in the lives of their team, and then they desire to have it month in and month out. So it just sets up that team leader in the organization, in your organization, to be the hero, and that's the whole goal of Wildsparq, is that you do have the mountaintop experiences, as you said, Billy. You need those. Those are the catalytic events that you do once a year, twice a year, maybe quarterly, that bring momentum, that bring everybody together, that crystallize, here's where we're going. But then you need a plan in between the mountaintops that your people can engage in, that sustain and bring consistency to their growth between the mountaintop events. And that's what Wildsparq does.
Yeah, and I think something you said there on those catalytic events is, vision is more caught than taught. C.S. Lewis also said, as people more need to be reminded than taught. So it's this idea of bringing people back to the basics of like, hey, here's why we're doing this. And so I love the idea that anybody can lead, but it's also important for the leader to step back and say, here's why we're doing this. And watching some of the kickoffs we've done of some of the great leaders actually step on the screen with us and step on the stage with us and say, hey, we're bought into this. We're excited about it. So I think that's an importance to get buy-in all around. And Josh, I know you're part of working directly with clients, implementing this. Tell them a little bit about sort of how it's implemented, what the platform looks like. I wish those of you watching or listening could actually see it. If you go to the website, it's pretty cool. You actually see the platform. This is not just about fluff. This is not just about a feel-good situation. There's actually points and there's competition. Like, tell them a little bit about how that part works, Josh.
Yeah, there's this really cool unifying platform, right? A place where everybody can connect and see. I think the key for the platform, one of the coolest parts about it is there's visibility on it. to even drive connectedness virtually and be able to see like how each other are learning and growing and what practical action steps some of the leaders on your team are taking to be the better leader that they want to be that best version of themselves, to continue to propel themselves forward. And when you get to see other people doing that, it's gonna pull you along too. And so there's a level of support you feel when you know that it's not just me trying to do this alone, but I have a whole team around me that's also trying to do it. But it's super easy to use, but man, it all goes back to connection. And I've listened to a couple of episodes of the Mic Drop podcast. And I know on one of the previous episodes, I can't remember the title of it, I think you talked a lot about like, what is king, right? Is content king? Is experience king? And what you landed on was connection is king. And if it's a show or if it's an experience, it's all about Wildsparq, or it's all about Elevate, that experience is going to fail miserably, right? It's the ones that pull people in, that allow them to feel engaged and connected with each other, that are most successful. And so that's really the differentiator with Wildsparq. There's a ton of great, online platforms with leadership content that are out there. And Wildsparq, yes, does have great content, but the difference in where you feel it is when you get to sit down with each other and you get to speak in and say, yeah, here's what I'm learning, but here's how this practically applies to me. Here's how it's making me feel. And here's what we could do as a team to implement this, to be better. And so it's been really fun to watch and see the impact that it's created in a lot of teams across the country and across the world.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And so I think about the groups that you're impacting and probably folks that you'll never meet that are leveraging the platform. So kudos to your hard work of developing the content, of making sure the platform's right, to telling the story. I see those of you watching on YouTube can see behind Josh, they've got the discovery process and the leader development ramp. And I know you have a lot of different ways you explain what you do, but bottom line is it is connection. And so I do want to give you guys a chance to connect with the audience and share the leadership principle right now that you think everybody in the world should know. The one idea that, gosh, if we all could take a hold of this, or maybe something that's hitting your heart right now that it's impacting you so much to make that impact around you. Josh, what would you say that is? And then I'm gonna come to you, Cord. Yeah.
I'm gonna shameless plug Wildsparq again on this, because it's where we recommend everybody starts with the Wildsparq strategy, and that's with story. It's with taking a genuine level of care in others. And so I would say what everybody could implement right now that could make an impact in somebody else's life is to be interested over interesting. And so versus thinking about yourself first, consider others more important than yourself. And it's crazy to see the impact that you can create in somebody's life just by asking them questions. Hey, tell me about you. Tell me about, where you come from. Tell me about what's happened to you over the course of your life that's led you to where you are today. And seeking to really understand that, it lays a foundation of trust. It builds a relationship. And listen, leadership is impossible without relationship. If you're disconnected from that individual, it's going to be impossible to lead them effectively. And so I think something that each of us can take is just be intentional about asking other people questions about themselves and seeking to learn more about somebody else, especially in the world that we live in today, where everybody's been socially distanced and had masks on and all this kind of stuff. I think now more than ever, people crave that connectedness that we're talking about as a theme on this episode today.
Yeah, and I think the one question we can ask is, hey, just tell me your story. I'd love to learn about you. It might be someone that just came back from Afghanistan. Could be somebody that is a different political party from you. It could be someone that looks different than you. And I think if we lean in with that, saying, hey, I'd love to learn your story. And I think I don't know where this quote came from. I'm claiming it because I don't know where it came from. But it's hard to hate somebody up close. Yeah. It's hard to hate somebody up close. And so getting in close proximity and just asking those questions, I think is a profound idea. And as Donald Miller mentions in most of his content, is who is the hero? Is the hero yourself, or is the hero the person you're talking to? And I think we all know the way we want to live is making other people the hero of the story. So I love that. Cord, what are your thoughts, man? I see you're processing over there. I see your head flinging back. I see like you're grabbing your face. Like there's so many things. You probably have 45 minutes worth of content to share, but What is your thought, man?
No, yeah. No, I'll just what I learned yesterday. Okay, that's probably what I'm learning. Is probably what's most on my mind and on my heart. And that's there was a talk yesterday I listened to by Garrett White, and he talked about asking the question, "Are you in the flow?" And he talks about the flow. If you're in the flow, and he kept saying that when you're in the flow, you align three things. You align your purpose, your passion, and your productivity. And so when you get to the end of the day, ask yourself, were you in the flow today? Did you align your purpose, your passion, and your productivity? Because if you can get all three of those aligned, that's where your maximum impact occurs. Your maximum production will occur if purpose and passion precede it. If you go in and say, how am I going to produce today, and leave out purpose and passion, you will not be as productive as if you intentionally think, how do I align my purpose, my passion, and my production together? And you get the first two in line, then production is expedited. Production is exponential, and it's expanding all around you. And so it was great for me to think, okay, when I come to work today, is my purpose, my passion aligned first, and is it flowing into my production? And so it takes time in your career to get there. But if you never think about that, you're going to be on a treadmill that's just moving for years and years and years. And you're going to get to the halftime part in your life, and you may have been really, really productive, but you're going to say, wow, I missed half of my life living on purpose. So it's just a grid that I'm thinking through. How do I align my purpose, my passion, and my production?
I love that. And I think that even someone that might be halfway through their life, I'm always encouraged by Colonel Sanders of how late he started to start KFC. I'm always encouraged by wherever somebody is in the journey to start. So if you're 15 listening to this podcast, you can start today. If you're 55 and you're listening to this podcast, you can start today. So I think it's so fun to reevaluate that. And as you were saying it, I was trying to think about how many days I've been productive and not have my passion and purpose in my mind and just kind of going through the motions. And I think particularly in the event industry right now, we're just trying to keep our head above water. So if you're listening and you're an event planner or you're somebody in marketing at the organization, you're feeling that way, it's okay. Take a deep breath. Maybe write those down on a sheet of paper and just on the left side, what is my purpose? What is my passion? And does my productivity align with those things? And as they do, there's just more joy. There's just more fun involved in all of it. So where can we find you guys online? So if somebody's interested, they want to hear more on social media or on website, how do they reach out to you guys?
Yeah. Wildsparq.com. WILDSPRQ.
It's a
so
Q.
Don't forget the Q at the end. Wildsparq with a Q. .com. Just reach out, make a connection, ask for us to connect with you, and you'll literally within the hour you'll have somebody reach back out to you and just start a conversation. It's a very relational experience. We don't like a lot of automated robots that do our work for us. And so you'll connect with someone like Josh Swing, and we'll just start a great conversation by asking a lot of questions around how do you want to think very intentionally about bringing a leader development inside of your organization that makes your team leaders the heroes, and it grows them to reproduce and multiply leaders.
I love that. And Josh, I know you guys just started a podcast. Tell them a little bit about that and the name of it and why you named it that.
We did. It's the Secret Sauce Podcast. So if you're a podcast fan, if you're listening to this on a podcast, just as soon as this episode wraps up, hop up in the search bar, type in the Secret Sauce Podcast, and hop over to the Wildsparq podcast. It is Chick-fil-A focused, and so it's actually spread really rapidly amongst Chick-fil-A owner operators in the space. I know we've talked a little bit about the Chick-fil-A culture on the podcast today. I think we're all fans of Chick-fil-A, right? And so it's a great insight into how Chick-fil-A owners are thinking about their personal secret sauce and what they're leveraging with their teams that's setting them apart in the world that we live in today. And then also organizationally, just what they do, what is their secret sauce? How do they go about thinking about people and processes and things like that? And so it's worth a listen. Go check it out. Short 30-minute episodes. And we have a new Chick-fil-A owner on every month to talk a little bit about their perspective on the organization's secret sauce and then their own personal secret sauce for how they're creating multiplying movements of multiplying leaders on their team within their restaurants and culturally. So yeah, go check that out. And then also on any of the social media, Instagram, our team's super active on LinkedIn. If you go search for Wildsparq on LinkedIn also, you'll see us on there and you can get in touch with any of us.
I love it. It's great. Cord, what did I miss? I know you have a burning thought you want to share. I know there's one more thing.
No, man. Billy, just thankful for our relationship, our partnership, knowing that at the end of the day, we're trying to do the same thing. We're trying to ignite the passion and the purpose in others so that they simply will invest in, and I would say, I kind of left my principle there without saying the key is if another person is the object of your impact, then you're starting to align the purpose and the passion. So that's why I love working with you, because I know your heart behind why you do an event company is so you can have a greater impact in the lives of those that you have now exposure to. And so we love working with you because we feel like we're really aligned there, and know that if we ever send a client to you, you're going to take care of them at such a level that they're going to feel cared for. And I think you would hopefully say the same about us. And that's just when you can work together with organizations like Elevate, and it just makes your impact you're having that much greater. So, man, I love doing this with you. I'm really thankful you invited both me and Josh on the podcast, and hopefully we can serve you in any way going forward.
I love it. Well, I feel the exact same way. And those of you that are listening in, I want you to listen for clues about who you should be doing business with. And those people that you really enjoy doing business with, do all you can to pull them close and figure out ways to make an impact with one another. Because listen, life is super duper short. This is heavy on my mind as I produce this podcast. Life is incredibly short. So after I die, my kids are going to have this content. So what are you producing? It could be like, man, this inspires me to start my own podcast. It is not that hard to do. If you've got something to say and you've got an impact to make, you need to start it, because the world needs your positive impact. Now, literally more than ever, we need people that are out there that are warriors for good, that are making an impact. And here on Mic Drop Events, that's what we want to do. If we can serve you and help you at your next live or virtual experience, or even a hybrid experience, you're trying to figure out, I got some people that are comfortable arriving live and some that aren't quite comfortable yet. Hey, we get it. That's our expertise. And so if we can help you at all, we'd love to. Go find us on social media. Obviously, if you're watching this, listen to this, I want to invite you to like, subscribe, and be a part of the Elevate culture. So I hope each of you have a fantastic day. Thanks for listening in. We'll see you on the next episode of Mic Drop Events. Peace.